Good evening, everybody. I'm Sharif Ishaq in West Virginia, and it's becoming a reoccurring theme in White Sulphur Springs. Another beautiful night, and it was another beautiful day for day 4 of Saints training camp, where the intensity stepped up a couple notches, and the same goes for a rookie quarterback.
Ready, set.
For Garrett Grayson, he's still learning a massive NFL playbook, spitting out the right plays, the right formations, and on top of that, the speed of the game.
Everybody, is faster at every position across the board. So, you have to go through your reads that much faster.
And as the third rounder out of Colorado State gets up to speed, he's also going to have some thick skin during this process. It's something Peyton saw in another one of his quarterbacks 10 years ago.
I've seen that with Bill, firsthand with Tony, his early years, and we'll do the same here with Garrett. The ship's not waiting, really. It goes, and quickly you got to get up to speed with it.
And Grayson couldn't have asked for a better situation. Actually, he's very fortunate to land in a Peyton, Drew Brees run offense.
My two real dream teams were the Broncos and the Saints, just because who they have at quarterback, how smart they've been through their whole career. Both of them are Hall of Famers, so the fact that I ended up, here where I'm at, I've got a lot of family in the South too, so it really is the dream situation for me, and I'm just beyond happy to be part of it, learning from those guys.
And what else he's learned firsthand sitting behind Brees is that the soon-to-be Hall of Fame QB is very competitive.
Everything bothers him. If he has an incomplete pass, he is upset. And I think we all saw it today. He had an incompletion of routes on air, and he threw his helmet down. And it's just he takes everything very seriously. And if it doesn't go perfectly, he wants to do it over right then and there.
Like any other rookie, he's getting hazed with the whole "get me the water" thing, but it doesn't stop there. Grayson was told to do something else at practice.
Called a play. He didn't like our break. And last night I had to sing in front of the team. And so he didn't like the break, so it made me get back and called me out, said I can rap, so I guess that's a good thing.
What did you sing?
Ignition Remix by R. Kelly. So
I've never heard that.
yeah, my singing's done. I'm retired.
And maybe down the line, Grayson and Brandon Coleman can be in harmony. The undrafted receiver out of Rutgers is catching on in his second year after he spent his rookie year injured and on the practice squad.
I didn't want to use that as a crutch, you know what I'm saying? You play injured all the time. It's just a part of the game.
I really think, Brandon's made a lot of strides from year 1 to year 2. And again, part of that's his health. He's healthy, his legs are stronger, he's extremely competitive, he works hard at it, and you can see that carry over to the snaps he's getting.
Expect Coleman to get a lot of snaps this season, as he will more than likely be the 3rd or 4th receiver on this squad, and that's something he has to get ready for this season.
Everybody says football is mostly mental, so, you just got to really put yourself in that mindset the night before and then just study. As long as you're prepared, you can go out there, you won't have to think as much.
Another thing about Coleman, he's a skyscraper. He's 6'6", 225 pounds, so that gives him a huge advantage over a lot of cornerbacks.
I've always been a big body receiver, so it's been a natural thing for me just to use my size to my advantage.
Well, you have a bigger radius, and so your target area when you're throwing is bigger. And so as you're a quarterback throwing a slant or you're throwing an in cut, that radius is just a bigger target. And I think that's one of his strengths.
It's the same strength Marcus Colston has, and Coleman soaks in a lot of knowledge from the 6'4" receiver who's playing in his 10th year with the black and gold.
Since I got here from day one, Colston and I have been talking about things on and off the field, and I'm grateful for that. It's little things like if I come off after a play, I will come and seek his guidance and what he would have done in situations, and we'll talk about plays like that. I thought I was a quiet guy until I met him, but I got a long way to go.
And Brandon Coleman has been anything but quiet so far in training camp. He's caught at least one pass from Drew Brees each day in team drills. On your side in West Virginia, Sharif Ishaq, WDSU News.
All right, Sharif, thanks.
Welcome to White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia for a special edition of the WDSU Hot Seat. I am Sharif Ishaq, and I am joined by CST's Mike Neighbors. And Mike, you've been covering this team for almost 10 years, and this was such a hectic offseason. They get rid of a lot of defensive leaders, a couple captains. What did you see? Did they have to make all these moves?
You know, I think after a 7-9 season, moves are going to be made. Sean Payton goes into 06 really not knowing much about that football team. I mean, look at his offensive line. Back then, he didn't know what he had from a Jari Evans, even a John Stinchcomb. A lot of those guys, a Jonathan Goodwin, you could go right down that offensive line. You know, he knows what he has and a lot of the players coming into this season, but I think there's no doubt about it that there are more question marks entering this year than you going back into 2006 because there have been so many changes.
All right, with the old comes the new. They bring in guys like Brandon Bronner, draft some guys like Holy Kakaha, Pete, just to name a few. Can those guys step in and contribute?
Well, I think this defense is really strange because they made such an impact with Rob Ryan initially, you know, top 5 defense, and then it was like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But I think Dennis Allen is that other eye with Rob Ryan, and despite what people say, I think Rob Ryan and Sean Payton are kindred spirits. You may see them hooping and hollering on the sidelines, but both the guys have similar personalities, and I think that worked for them. But a guy that you guys work with at WDSU, Jabari Greer, to me goes down as one of the most underrated Saints of all time. Since he left this football team, really the defense struggled in the secondary mightily, so they've always needed that other guy, you know, opposite of Keenan Lewis. And let's see if they have found it in Brandon Browner, you know, 2 guys who go way back to their college days, always push each other, and I think that's a unique chemistry to watch, not only in this camp, but in this season.
You talked about the secondary. Once upon a time, Dennis Allen was the secondary coach when they won the Super Bowl. He's now as a senior defensive assistant. How much can he help, and will that kind of get in the way of Rob Ryan, you think?
You know, I think it won't because they're 2 different styles. I mean, Rob Ryan's going to get in a guy's face, and Dennis Allen may be a guy that takes a player aside, especially some of these young players who are trying to win starting jobs. So I think it's the perfect complement. Now, if you bring in a guy who's just like Rob Ryan, those personalities probably conflict, and it doesn't, you know, have that complementary nature. But I think Sean Payton knows Dennis Allen well, knows Rob Ryan well, knows the dynamics there, and I think it'll work well.
All right, we talked a lot about the defensive guys. What about the offensive players they brought in, like running back C.J. Spiller? Boy, the way he could talk on that podium, you better hope that he could produce just as much, and it sounds like he will this season.
I think good things are going to come in 3. I mean, Jimmy Graham is not there, but you have Mark Ingram, who is ready, if healthy, I think, to rush for over 1,000 yards. Brandon Cooks, if he can stay healthy, should catch for over 1,000 yards. He was on that pace before he went down a year ago. And then when you ask Brandon Cooks about C.J. Spiller and how this offense will be different, without hesitation, just smiles into the camera and says, speed. And CJ said the same thing. So it all comes down to players staying healthy, like many teams around the NFL. But with that, you know, 3-headed monster along with Drew Brees, I see big things for this offense.
Drew Brees is a guy you know pretty well. You know, some people say he's getting old. He is 36 years old. Do you think he's declining? Do you think he still has something left in the tank to get the Saints where they need to be? They said Tom Brady was getting old, and he won a Super Bowl.
No doubt about it. Drew Brees has plenty left in the tank. I think this offseason was all about Drew Brees. I mean, they bring in Max Unger to captain that offensive line. They bring in a C.J. Spiller. Sure, you lose a Jimmy Graham, but the upgrades on offensive line and, to me, the upgrades in the skill positions, Drew Brees is going to have more help. Sure, he forced the ball last year, to me, reminiscent of the 2012 season when Sean Payton was on the sideline, and he felt like he had to do it all, and that's when Drew Brees struggles the most because he still has the talent, he still has the drive, but when a quarterback feels like he has to do everything himself, bad things are going to happen.
They were 7-9 last season. What do you predict for this season? I know it's early, we're still in camp.
I think to me it all comes down to defense. The young guys at linebacker, Stephon Anthony, if he can step up and really make plays. Junior Gillette, you know, everything that happened with him really hurts this football team in a lot of ways. Because say what you want about, you know, what happened with him off the football field, the guy made plays on the field. You're going to have to replace that production. I think the defense will take a step forward, though. I think the offense will be better. I think this team has a winning record in an NFC South that's not that good. A lot of teams are struggling. I think they make the playoffs.
All right, he is Mike Neighbors. I'm Sharif Ishak, and that is your WDSU Hot Seat. Back to you.